Zoe Wanamaker grew up in an environment surrounded by theatre and actors. Her mother was an actress and her father was the influential American actor and director Sam Wanamaker. His influence on Zoe is still significant even today, 20 years after his death. Zoe Wanamaker and I talked in the sitting room of our house while the traffic rumbled past outside. I asked her what she remembered most about her childhood, her sometimes difficult relationship with her father, and her early career.
My earliest memories main memory was when Dad went to Stratford and he was playing Iago to Paul Robeson's Othello. We lived in a place called Avencliff, which is now an estate, and but it was a big house that was there for visiting actors, and this was before Peter Hall took over. And Dad used to row. It was the year of the Sputnik, and I remember Daddy used to row to work, and then one day...
Row to work? Yeah. This is a rowing boat or a proper sculls thing?
Proper boat, proper little rowing boat. I mean, a proper boat, because Dad didn't fuck about, I mean, and Daddy was part of the baseball team because there was Glenn's men. Glenn, I'm sure, he had a team and they used to play. Paul Robeson didn't play because he was a major footballer playing. And there were people like Vanessa Redgrave was in the company, and Zoe Caldwell and Ian Holm and Roger Treese and Albert Finney. He was playing Cassio. And I remember being taken backstage and smelling the size and the paint and the makeup but previous to that, I think Daddy had been running Liverpool, and I remember going up to Liverpool and seeing Tommy Steele.
How did your father feel about you becoming an actress? Was he encouraging or neutral or something?
No, he didn't want me to become an actress.
And at what point did you say, I'm going to do it? When did it become a serious proposition that you were going to do it? Or realistic proposition?
After I went to art school, for my first year at art school, Hornsey College of Art.
Well, this was was the golden age of Hornsey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 60... I went straight from boarding school, Quaker boarding school that I went to for a year.
So why did you go to art school and not drama school?
Because my parents wanted me in some way to develop another talent. If I was determined to do this, I wanted to be. So I was persuaded. So I got in. And then the more I was there, the more I realised that this was something that it was a discipline that it was very solitary, painting. And I didn't feel that I wasn't good enough, really. I really didn't think I was good enough. And then I said, this is what I want to do. And then my mother said, well, if you're going to do that, then you have to learn shorthand and typing.
A good old fallback.
Because then, you've got to earn a living somehow. So that's what I did. I started doing speed writing, which is get a good job fast in 3 months. It's basically texting. But because I have dyslexia and I can't spell very well, it took me not 3 months, it took me 6 months, and even then I cheated just to get out. And then I worked in offices doing dictaphone typing and stupid
You were,
things.
what, 18, 19-ish?
By then I was 19. Yeah, because it must have been 18 or 19 probably. Maybe. Yeah, 19. And then I worked for a casting director, Miriam Brickman, who worked in an office there as a Bell Friday. And then I applied for drama schools. And I auditioned for Lambda and Central accepted me, and so my audition, I was too scared my audition to RADA. So I didn't go to RADA, I went to Central, because Central seemed to me it had so the audition was actually quite good because you did a day working together as a part of the audition, So then I started there. And for the first time in my life, I was never late. I was never late. Because I was... this was something I wanted to do very much. But I got towards the end of my 3-year course there, I was thinking I should change my name. And
did you find being your father's daughter was a millstone or an asset or not an issue?
It was a millstone. It was a problem. Well, it was a problem for me because he and Mum both had been to the Lee Strasberg School in the early 40s, so when Lee was just starting his school, and so therefore the tradition of the method was very much in my head of that kind of work. But of course Central never taught that kind of work. It didn't teach Grotowski, it didn't teach Brecht, it didn't teach any method.
And what was your attitude to that?
Well, that was...
You got into trouble because you were saying...
I wasn't in trouble, I just kept asking, why aren't we going to learn a method? Why don't we learn a way of working so that I think that's why the split happened between Yatt and Blatchley and Central, and it became Drama Centre.
Yeah.
I think that was... So they had a very... not strict, but they had a very
But they were quite
method.
Traditional in those days, the drama schools a lot.
Yeah, the thing was about Central was that it was about... You learnt music hall, you learnt, you did those kind of... The George Hall being one of the chief sort of artistic director of the whole thing, and he had a wonderful, grounded way of working, and I don't think he really believed in the method. So, in a way, I still suffer from that lack of knowledge of those kind of methods, so that at least, it's like religion. It's like we're brought up with a religion. At least you have somebody to kick against, but you have a grounding of some kind. However, so... but Dad quite rightly said, he said, if you change your name, people are going to find out who you are anyway. And I remember Vanessa Redgrave saying, if it gets your foot in the door, fine.
Yeah, which is half the battle.
So, yeah, so I remember, because Daddy used to run, when he ran, he started when he came over here, because he was blacklisted and he had no passport. He started producing and directing. So, and I knew a lot. I bumped into a lot of actors, not a lot, but a handful of actors who'd say your father. And I remember one actor in Edinburgh when I was in Edinburgh. It was my second job out of drama school, saying, your father, he did this to me and he did that to me, and I said he was nasty or something. And I looked at the actor and I thought, I'm not surprised. But, Dad was tough. He was a rigorous...
Yeah, I didn't know him very well, but I certainly got the impression not somebody you would want to mess with. And he
used to scare me.
But was he supportive when you finally decided to go to drama school?
Yeah. Yes, and then I do remember that I was my first job at the Royal Shakespeare Company, which must have been maybe my second job at the RSC, was in Ivanov with the late great John Wood and David Jones, another one gone. And I came back from rehearsals one day and I said to Dad, I don't know what I'm doing, and the director says this, and the director said, my God, and he put his paintbrush down because he was painting the study, and he said, my God, Zoe, you've been to drama school. You went to drama school for how many years? And 3 years, and you've been out in the thing, and you don't know the first thing. Why did the writer write the play? What is the play about? What does the director want to... What did... And he said, and he just went through every single premise, which we were never taught at drama school. And he was right. I had not been given... We were not given a structure in which to really just technically study what we do. how we do it, how we get there. So when you get stuck, when your instinct stops, how do you figure it out? How do you help yourself? There are lots of methods of ways of doing it, and that's all it's for. That's by the way. But yes, but they were very critical.
Did he come? He came to see you in your early shows, did he? Was he?
Yeah.
Very
my
critical
first
days.
one of the shows at drama school. He said to me, "When you're sitting at the side of the stage, thinking, we don't need to see you thinking. You are thinking, actively thinking." Stuff like that, which is, first stuff about It's wonderful stuff, he used to say. I mean, there was one performance he told me when I was at National. He said, "That's the worst performance I've ever seen you give." And he was right. But it was devastating. It was devastating.
Yes, it's always your father you want to please, isn't it?
Of course. And my mother, who Dad always said that she was a better actor than he was. She I trusted as well. Her thoughts were good. I miss that.
And was there a point where you felt you'd, maybe not broken free is maybe not the correct expression, but where you could actually separate yourself from your father and people saying,
Oh yes.
Was that an important step?
I wasn't conscious of it, but there was a consciousness about. There was a step that I made in '78, I think, when I worked at Stratford, the first season at Stratford, when I did a play called Piaf there, and it was the first time that I worked with a director who made me use my head in a way that had never occurred to me before, and it changed the way I worked.
Who was
great.
that?
It was Howard Davis, and we worked together on that.
It's funny, there's these sort of little moments which are
important.
almost life-changing, aren't
It was a way, suddenly I didn't worry about what I was doing with my hands.